Friday, Fumble fam. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a lot to get into. We are talking about Steph Curry and how he gave a very impassioned speech on the sidelines during yesterday's game, and I'm curious if that means things are kind of falling apart for him. We're also talking about LeBron James and how he says it is officially go time for him. But before we do all that, subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
Happy Friday, you guys. We made it. I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all social media at JRayTheFanatic. Devin, did you hear the good news? I almost forgot. I'm so excited because Cam Newton signed a 1-year contract with the Patriots, so he does not have to test the free agency or all that. I'm so excited because I was worried. I didn't think anybody was going to pick him up. 1 year, $14 million. So, yay, Cam Newton. Super excited about that. Also, the GOAT, TB12, Tom Brady, he signed a new contract. He signed a 4-year contract. It's technically a 1-year contract with 3 voidable years that they can manipulate however they want, and it lets them save $19 million on their salary cap. So I know they're going to be stacked coming up because they got some space now. But the GOAT has re-signed and Cam Newton has re-signed, so it's a wonderful, wonderful Friday. I'm pretty excited for both of them. I don't know. I know you guys say I go back and forth with Tom. I do. Today I'm excited for him. So yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for him too. I mean, look, we have to be able to recognize what Tom Brady brings to the game, how he's been able to, really make an impact on NFL history. And, it's as much as he can irritate us or do things that are just bizarre and annoying, he also is a fun athlete to watch, and he knows how to get his teammates to level up. And like we've been talking about, we mentioned a few times this week, Odell Beckham Jr. and Tom Brady might come together to try to form this super team. And now that we know that Tom Brady is on for at least another year, but likely at least 4 more years, that seems like it could be a real possibility. So it's very exciting. Also, Cam Newton, so happy to finally see that Cam is getting his money after that contract that he signed last season. It's like, this is refreshing. I'm really, really happy for him. I can't wait to see what he does. What do you expect his season is going to look like next year?
So I don't think that this means that the Patriots aren't looking for another quarterback. I still think that there's a lack of trust there. But I think they also understand that they did not actually give Cam enough weapons. And there's also some things. He's not Tom Brady. So you can't just come in and expect him to do what he does, do what Tom Brady does. You can't expect anybody to walk in and do what Tom Brady does. You do have to cater the system. Just like you built that system for Tom Brady, you need to build the system for Cam Newton or whoever their new quarterback is. I ultimately think that they're really on the fence right now. Do we want to keep Cam as our starter? Do we want to have him as a backup? But they definitely have a relationship with him, and they definitely want him around for a while. And I'm just excited for him. You guys know I love me some Cam so much, but yay. So either way, I think it's going to be good for him. Even if he's a backup, I don't think at this point in his career, he's got to kind of recognize the writing on the wall. Unfortunately, Carolina wore his body to the ground, and that just might be his plight in life right now. But I'm sure he's happy that whatever happened last season and how much it didn't work for him, that they still respect his talent enough to keep him around at least for another year and $14 million. So that's a good thing. That is a very good thing.
It is a very good thing. And I remember just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how Cam said he was never going to retire. He's never going to throw in the towel. He's not ready to do that. And it's nice to see that he's going into this next contract getting a good chunk of money, even if he's not going to be a starter, even if they are looking for somebody else. It's just good that he's at least he's being compensated in a way that is more in line with his experience and what he's able to do. So good for Cam Newton. Super excited about that. Before we dive into this news, just tell me, you have any fun plans for the weekend? I like to do a little Friday weekend preview, Jackie. So what's going on for you?
This is going to be a horrible weekend for me because I have got to go apartment shopping. Apartment shopping sucks in LA because it's either you have to pay too much for not enough, or you can pay something reasonable for trash. There's nothing in the middle. So I'm going to try to find that diamond in the rough. I'm actually, as soon as we get off of this, I have a doctor's appointment, and then I'm going to begin my search today and tomorrow. But yeah, not looking
Ugh.
forward.
Jeez, Jackie, I'm sorry I even asked. That sucks. I hate apartment hunting.
Oh my God.
It feels like the entire Fumble squad, except for maybe Leo, behind the scenes Leo, we all had to search for new apartments during all of this, and it really sucks. So I understand the struggle, and I hope you find something amazing. I think you will. For me this weekend, keeping things kind of chill as usual. What else do I do? I'm probably going to find a way to eat a lot of guacamole somehow, somewhere. Maybe go to the beach, go to the pool. Just want to live my best life this weekend. But let's get into our first need to know news story. Somebody who is not living their best life right now, that is Steph Curry. The Warriors faced off against the Clippers last night, and it was a rough game for the Warriors. The score really started to get out of hand in the third quarter, and then Steph was seen on the sidelines giving this really impassioned speech. I think we're going over that in the post-up, so we will have the video for you later. But it seemed like he was really just trying to hype up his teammates, but there was this hint and sense of urgency about him that we don't typically see from Steph. Steph is usually just like happy-go-lucky, pretty calm, cool, collected demeanor. He doesn't seem to crumble under pressure very often or really even get that angry or that frustrated or even just that animated in general. He just seems like he's having a good time and just trying to play the game. So yesterday it was pretty out of character to see him on the sidelines getting so hyped up and so riled up. So unfortunately for the Warriors, Steph's speech really didn't do much because they still ended up losing by 26 points. And Steph's performance in the game last night was also very underwhelming. He wasn't on his A game. He just finished with 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. I don't blame Steph for being frustrated. He is bearing, I feel like, a lot of the weight of the Warriors on his own back right now, especially since he doesn't have Clay there to kind of share, have that support. And it's now the second season where they're not performing as well as he was typically used to. It seems like the team is just kind of having a hard time finding some solid footing and getting into a good groove. And it kind of makes me, and I think a lot of other fans, wonder if this could be a motivating factor in him attempting to take his talents elsewhere. So his contract is almost done with the team. And since they're not as strong as they once were, and there are doubts about how Clay's addition to the lineup can elevate the team enough to make them, another championship-winning team, people are wondering, is Steph going to leave? He is their franchise player, but we've seen stranger things happen. We just saw James Harden leave. We saw LeBron leave Cleveland. We saw KD leave OKC. So it happens, and it's always a little jarring, and it's always a little surprising. But if they have a championship on their mind and they don't feel like they're going to get it with the team they've been with for a long time, I feel like they have every right to leave. I'm not going to be mad about that. So Jackie, what I first want to talk to you about is, were you surprised to see Steph looking so intensely urgent on the sidelines during the game yesterday? And of course, we're going to break it down in the post-up a little bit more, but what was your reaction to seeing him so animated?
After I laughed out loud, I was like, okay, let's break, because it just looked odd to me. But there is a time I remember, I can't remember whose show I was on back in 2016, and we started talking about what's it going to look like, because every dynasty comes to an end, every great team comes to an end, and we started talking about, like, what is it going to look like when the Warriors that we know now, the 2016 Warriors and beyond, what is it going to look like when they don't look like that anymore? And I think Steph, because Steph has been this frail, skinny little guy for how long? And then all of a sudden he's gone on this crazy LeBron diet and he's bulked up. And so seeing him animated and seeing his arms be kind of bulky instead of thin and flailing about, it was like, okay, this is a brand new Steph. This is a whole new Steph. I think this Steph realizes that, just like every player has to realize, the deeper you get into your career, the more you kind of have to modify your game and even your mindset a little bit so you can play those 18, 20 years in the season if you really want to. And I think that that's where Steph is right now. The difference is, though, Steph doesn't really, I don't think his identity is as secure as it has been in the past. I think right now he's understanding that he doesn't have his Clay. And even if Clay comes back, what does that mean? Because Clay is coming off of back-to-back huge injuries, and we know how that looks. a la Derrick Rose. We know what that might end up like. Sometimes when you have those injuries, you're just never the same. And so now there's this time where he does really have to start thinking about this, because if Clay comes back, number one, there's no guarantee that it's going to be the Clay of old. Number two, there's no guarantee that he's going to remain healthy, because we see these injuries start just kind of piling on themselves when they come back to back like this. And now he's got these young guys that, we heard this about LeBron, these young guys, and all of a sudden he's just really mad and he's intense. And then it's like, okay, don't talk to them like that. So it's just a weird time for him. And I think there is going to be that turning point in his head where he says, okay, yes, I love being with the Warriors, and this is definitely where I want to be. But with every season, my ability to possibly win another championship dwindles. So do I want to be cool with the championships I have and stay here? Or do I believe that my talents are good enough to take somewhere else and win a couple more? And I think every athlete goes through that, except for maybe Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal. They might be the only two that are not going to go through something like that. But everybody else, I think, kind of has to wonder, like, what's the end game look like for me? Is it possible for me to get another championship? And can I get it here? And if that answer is no, then the rumors will start rumbling, because then he'll start talking to people like his agent or even other teammates. And then we'll start hearing rumors of something like that. So I don't know. I do think, because we've never seen this kind of stuff, so I appreciate that we're all kind of thrown off because it was funny and then perplexing at the same time. So I'm not mad at people wondering if this means that he's thinking about something else, because we wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. There would have been no question in our mind that there's no way he's thinking about that. But this is a brand new Steph, from everything, from his physical look to the way he's talking to his teammates to even his play. This is a brand new Steph, so I think anything is possible.
I agree with you 100%, but I see a lot of people in the chat are not on the same page as us. Like Mamba Machine says Steph is the franchise player. He's the Jordan to the Warriors Bulls. Steph leaving would be the end of an era. Steph will retire in a Warriors jersey. Now, if this was 2 years ago, I would have agreed with you. But seeing that he has gone through not only a physical transformation, but also it seems like not an emotional transformation, but like a personality transformation. I feel like we're just kind of getting the sense that he is laying the groundwork to either become a better player or a stronger player for the Warriors, or take his talents elsewhere. Because I don't think that Steph is wanting to just completely dash his title dreams at this stage of his career. He still has several more. He still has a decent amount of time left before he even really needs to think about retiring. And if the Warriors are not able to really elevate and level up, I don't see why he wouldn't consider leaving. A lot of people think that Steph and Dame. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say, Jackie?
I love Mamba's analogy, because you're talking about Jordan, but Steph doesn't have the amount of rings that Jordan has. So, and then I know, Kevin, you said the same thing. Kevin said, Bradley Beal and Dame Dollar have 0 chips. Steph is a made man. He's a made man with not as many rings as maybe he wants to have. And I just don't know if Steph is the kind of guy that says, I got my rings here. This is my legacy here with Golden State. I'm good with what I got. I don't know. And to be honest, he's not been vocal enough for us to know that. I think we all know some people who are like, I think Kawhi is that guy. We all know KD's that guy. LeBron's that guy, that it's all about the ring. I don't know if Steph is all about the Warriors more than he's all about the ring, because he really hasn't shown us anything other than Warrior Steph. But this Steph that we see right now is not the Steph we're used to seeing. So I don't know what's more important to him, because he hasn't told us. I don't know if being that franchise guy and retiring, and let's not forget Jordan retired and then went somewhere else when he came back. So, and let's not, not out the realm of possibilities if we're doing the Jordan comparison here. But I just don't know. I don't know if we understand who this Steph is, because this is a brand new guy to us,
Yeah, I feel like I could really see it going either way. If Steph did announce that he was seeking a trade, or he reached a free agency period and he was ready to go, I would be surprised. It would be a shock, I think, to literally everybody who watches the NBA. But I also wouldn't be so surprised that it would seem like this crazy, outrageous thing that I never saw coming. Like, I could see it coming in both ways. He could stay with the Warriors forever, or he could leave. And I just couldn't even blame him. So if we had to break down the likelihood of him actually leaving, Jackie, are you with me? You feel like it's 50-50, or do you think it's more likely that he'll stay or leave?
I mean, I'm definitely on the fence, so I'm probably going to say 50-50. I think the more likelihood is for Golden State to go to him and kind of pull what James Houston did for James Harden. Like, what do you think you need to win? Because we're ready to give you what, because Steph's got a lot of years. The way that he plays basketball is not as physical as, say, a LeBron. So he has years in front of him in his career. And so to answer Kevin's questions, I think Steph could go anywhere and be the number one option. He's Wardell, Stephen Curry. I think he can go wherever he wants and be the number one guy. But I think the Warriors will do everything they can in the interim to prevent that. And if that means some guys got to go, then some guys got to go. So I see that happening more. I see a mass exodus happening from the Warriors, like we saw with the Lakers. Like we'll trade the whole squad to get a new squad to make sure that Steph is happy. I see something like that happening before Steph goes. But Steph leaving is not, like, if I saw a headline tomorrow that said Steph is considering going somewhere else, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that sounds right. It wouldn't surprise me, It wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I personally like seeing him and LeBron together. So if we could ever make that happen, get Steph to the Lakers, I would be thrilled. That would be amazing. Let's actually talk about LeBron. I'm going to move into our next Need to Know News update. So LeBron has been proving all season long that he still has gas left in the tank despite being 36 years old. He's had a very long and successful pro basketball career, and it's going to continue. He has these hopes of playing with Bronny in the NBA. I think Bronny is 16 now, so it'll be a few more years before that can actually happen, which means LeBron wants to stay in the league for at least a few more years. But he wants everybody to know that going into the second half of the season, he is not going to be taking any time off. He's not going to be relaxing. He's not going to take it easy at all. He says, he told reporters, quote, "It's go time for me." He said that he's usually in the first, second, and third gear in the first half of the season. Then he hits fourth, fifth, and sixth gear in the second half of the season. And then once he gets to the playoff, he's in seventh gear. I have always admired LeBron's commitment to the game. I like that he wants to be the guy that puts in all the minutes, that's there all the time. He doesn't want any load management. But is this going to backfire? LeBron needs to be able to preserve his physical health. Should he have done that more in the first half of the season so that he really could be in go time in the second half of the season? Is this a bad idea all around? Jackie, let's talk about this. Is it going to backfire for him to push himself even harder in the second half of the season? And do you think that he really should take some time off to just rest and recuperate a little bit?
LeBron spends $1 million a year on his health and wellness, and his body and making sure his nutrition is right. And this is what he's used to. He's used to playing with teams that, with the exception of Miami, Cleveland, when he's off the floor, they lose the lead every single time. And that was how things were in LA from jump. When he's off the floor, the lead is gone. And so he's used to that. And I think there's just a lack of trust on his part that he's not the guy that's going to help maintain that lead. And I think he's right to a certain extent, but I think he's setting himself up for failure. I think sometimes you just have to understand that when you playing basketball at 36 full speed is not the same as playing basketball full speed at 26, at 18. When you first came into the league, that's crazy when you talk about that. 18-year-old LeBron, 28-year-old LeBron. We're going to see a 38-year-old LeBron in the league. We're going decades into this lifestyle of full speed ahead. And LeBron's full speed ahead is probably twice as fast as everybody else's full speed ahead because he's so much bigger than everybody else. So it's just, I'm never going to speak if he knows his own body. But I do think the majority of athletes overlook what their body is telling them sometimes. Sometimes I feel like they'll have this ache here and they'll be like, no, I'm just going to push through it. And I think that LeBron is definitely one of those guys. I would like him to have a little bit more trust in his team. I understand why he doesn't have full trust yet. I think maybe when AD comes back full speed and, because he was resting the other day, AD has no problems with resting. And I love that about AD. AD's like, nah, I'm going to sit this one out. And I love that about him because you have to be that way. you have to just know, like, I'm tired. And I think when you acknowledge that and you respect that, then that also rest also will prolong your career. Taking that break and realizing that my body cannot move like my 18-year-old body could. I think that is a big deal. And I think that he really needs to take a step back. But again, I'm going to say this again. And I know I've said this every single time we talk about this. This is why I don't like Frank Vogel. And this is why I think you need people like, and I know some people don't like Doc Rivers, but Doc Rivers and we don't see like a Phil Jackson or even Popovich. You're not going to have the last say on whether you play or not. I'm going to look at how you're playing in the game. And if I can see, because I told y'all the last couple times he's played at full speed, I'm tired at full speed. And Popovich or like a Phil Jackson or Doc Rivers would sit him down, whether he wants to be sitting. And I have seen LeBron walk up to Frank Vogel and say, I'm going in, and check himself into the game. And Frank's like, oh, okay, that's okay. No, no, you're the coach. It is your job to protect these athletes from themselves. And I really think that a lot of this falls on Frank Vogel, because I mean, if you can't figure out how to manage these players, what do we need you for? Just let LeBron be the coach and the player. If that's the case, this is ridiculous. So I do think he needs to not only consider what he wants, but he needs to consider what the team needs. And I don't believe that the Lakers can win another chip without LeBron being 100% and AD being 100%. And in order for them both to be 100%, you have to manage their time wisely. So I think this is I don't care what you want right now. I love you, King, but you're going to sit out. At least we're going to reduce your minutes. You're not going to play this whole damn game. No, we need to at least manage his minutes a little bit, you know?
Yeah, no, that was very well said. And I know you have really harped on the fact that you think Frank Vogel needs to step in and make some demands above LeBron James. And I imagine it's hard to do that because he's LeBron and, you know, he's such an influential, powerful voice in the league. So I'm sure it does feel a little bit weird to say, like, no. Even though Frank is the coach, I just know it must feel uncomfortable to do that. But yeah, if you want to have the Lakers taking home another ring, another title, then you gotta be able to do that. You gotta force him to take some time off. Jackie, if he had played less minutes in the first half of the season, maybe sat out a few more games, I think he was only left out of one matchup. Would you feel a little bit better about him going full speed ahead in the second half of the season?
I mean, I think Doug said it best in the chat. I think LeBron should consistently be in the low 30s, period. I don't care at what point we are in the season. And I think you reserve for those increased minutes for the playoffs, period. But the regular season, I think he should be in the low 30s. And I think there should be some games where he doesn't travel with the team. He's literally at home, resting his body and his mind, because I think that's something we forget about too. When your mindset that you have to be to play 100 miles an hour all the time is different. I think that low 30s is where he should be to the playoffs, and there should be some mandatory rest days. And I think that's because, you know, it's like driving a car and you hear your brakes squeaking, but you're like, no, I'll get them fixed later. And then you're going downhill 100 miles an hour. And then you're like, damn, I'm not stopping. There's a problem. You have to make sure you take care of your car, of your athlete, before you get to that point where you do need to go 100 miles an hour. You need to make sure everything is fully functional. You need a fully functional AD. You need a fully functional LeBron. You cannot go deep in the playoffs. You can't make another finals run if both of those aspects aren't 100%. And I just don't know how you make sure both are 100% if they're playing damn near the whole game. It just doesn't even make mathematical sense. So no, I think he definitely needs to like I said, I wouldn't care which half of the season it came in, the front half or the back half. Low 30s should have been the mindset going into this season, and it should definitely be the mindset now. So no, I don't know if it would have mattered either way, because you got to take into what he looks like. If you're not taking into his age in consideration, watch the tape. The tape shows you he's getting tired. So yeah, no, low 30s is at best for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Also, you just reminded me that the maintenance required light on my car has been on for about a year. So I don't want to pull a LeBron. Gotta take my car in next week. Thank you for the reminder, because
You're welcome.
Gotta let that car run forever. Anyway, that wraps up Need to Know News. Jackie, can you take us into the post-up?
Yes, let's get into the post up, guys, because this one is going to be fun because we've talked a lot about what Steph looked like on the sideline, but we didn't actually show you. And I posted it on my Instagram because I was hilariously laughing at the whole thing. But just take a look at a mad Steph. It doesn't even seem like a real thing, but take a look.
In that timeout, Reg, we saw this, an impassioned Steph Curry.
I don't mean to laugh, but come on, y'all. That's funny. That's funny. He just doesn't. It's like, ooh, ooh. So, of course, the jokes were coming along, and people had a lot to say about this. So I'm going to show you. I'm even going to show you one. I posted this on my story. I'm going to show you exactly what my reaction was because it came on my story. But this one said, one game with LeBron, and he's sick of them boys. He's like, come on. Did you see us in the All-Star game? What are you doing? That was for play. That wasn't real, but this one is great. Like, it's the impact of LeBron. He's like, ooh, look at LeBron. Come on. I love that. But how I heard Steph in my head is exactly what somebody posted on my Instagram. It's like, come on, guys, gosh, darn it. Let's beat them, fellas. It just doesn't. I know he said at least one curse word in there because I could see it, but it just like, golly gee willikers, guys, we're not going to win this way. It just doesn't look right to me. I'm sorry. Devin, did it look right to you?
No, not at all. This popped up on my news feed because I wasn't able to watch the game last night. So it popped up on my Instagram feed, and I watched it a couple times, and I'm like, wow, Steph, like, I couldn't tell if he was angry or if he was excited. Like, it didn't, to me, it was like, what is this emotion I'm seeing out of Steph? It felt very weird, and it's so unusual for him. But yeah, I feel like that, golly gee, you guys, we got it. I think that was such an accurate description of what he probably sounds like. And it's so funny that we all feel that way, Steph.
I was talking to a friend of mine. He had the funniest analogy. He was like, hey, when you were a kid, did your mom ever say, wait till your dad gets home? I'm like, yeah, that used to be the worst. He says, I feel like Steph says, wait till Aisha get home. Like, cause she's the one that probably yells a little bit better than he does. Sorry, Steph. It just means you're a really nice guy, and none of us can really take you seriously when you yell. So take it as a compliment because it's just funny. But let's move on to this next one because this is another funny moment in time because Kawhi, he reminds me of, he's kid-like too. Like, if you ask a kid, I remember I asked my nephew one time, I was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to hear something like a doctor or a lawyer. And he was like, taller. Because, in his mind, I'm this tall auntie and I'm looking down at him. He's like, I just want to be taller. And it's like, okay, that's very basic. Kawhi had a similar childlike, very innocent, basic answer to Charles Barkley. Take a look.
Kawhi, you guys obviously got a new coach this year. Is there anything different, not saying right or wrong, is there anything different with having Ty Lue the head coach compared to Doc Rivers?
I mean, yeah, they're two different people. They're going to think different.
Kawhi,
that is hilarious. Like, I mean, what do you mean? They're different people. What? He was so confused. Like, I don't understand the question. This user, I got this one tweet from this user, and I feel like this person has never seen or understands who Kawhi is, because he said, cutting off the part where Kawhi seems to start explaining the actual difference between the two coaches is great media. My guy, do you not know? I'm going to make you feel better right now because I got the second half of that. And he said a lot of the same thing that he said in the beginning because he's Kawhi. But take a look at the second half of this response.
We're happy with T. Lue being here. The guys love him. I appreciate Doc being here last year as well. Like I said, they're two different people. So
he's freaking Kawhi. Did you think it was going to get better what?
That person that wrote that tweet, Jackie, they thought that they really said something. They thought that they were like, ooh, I'm going to really stick it to the media. No, he didn't say anything. He didn't talk about the differences. All he said is that he appreciates both of them. Like, no, this is Kawhi. Kawhi is not going to give you some deep answer. It's going to be the most deadpan, basic thing ever because that's who he is.
Right. Yes, they're like, next question. What do you mean? It's Kawhi. That's Doc. I don't understand what you're asking me. I love it. I love that aspect of Kawhi. He's just very straightforward, and I love that about him. He's just Kawhi. So This next one is interesting too, because someone tried to call KD's bluff, and KD is out here not being as savage as he used to be. He's also giving very just matter-of-fact answers. So Bleacher Report posted this. He said the Magics, the Birds, the Jordans, they created that brotherhood amongst the league. KD on today's NBA player being friendlier with each other than in previous eras. So I was like, okay, KD is probably right, because we've talked about that this whole week, how everybody kind of likes each other now. We're just a kinder, gentler nation, and that's kind of happening in the NBA as well. So this one user decided to clap back at I guess he tried to clap back, but he said they were friendly off the court. Come game time, they were at each other's heads, KD. So KD was like, oh, really? And you know this how? So KD responds back to that and basically asks him that, like, how do you know this for sure? Because were you there? And so that's such a matter-of-fact answer, because I guarantee you that person was not there. And then another user kind of calls KD out for, the same thing that everyone calls him out for all the time. He says, this is the same dude who left Golden State because he was salty. He wasn't worshipped like Steph. Brotherly love till you can't get your way, huh? And Kevin Durant said, is this 100% facts? Like, he's just not being as savage as he used to be. And I don't know, Devin, how do we feel about this kind KD? Like, go ahead.
I think that this is still savage KD. I think that this is just a different type of like petty savage. Yeah, because he's definitely trying to hit the weak points in what these people are saying, and he's trying to, imply that they're wrong, and they're like just spewing random false information on the internet. So even though it's not his typical direct, jabby, savage, trolling the way he would drag people, I still think he's doing it. It's just on a subtle level.
Okay, I appreciate the set, more in your face, oh, KD, no. I appreciate that one more than this KD, but I guess the world is changing, so I have to flow with it. Now, look, a couple of my friends have tried to get me on this, and this is why I don't answer anyone's FaceTimes anymore, because TikTok got y'all out here playing these dumb games, and Gronk is out here playing it. If you have a chance, go check his Twitter out. I think it's on, his Twitter out, because he did it to his dad, too, and the way he confuses his dad is just ridiculous. But he also got Tom Brady, and I think that is perfect. Take a look at this.
Hey, I'm busy right now. Can I call you later?
What are you doing?
I'm busy right now. Can I call you later?
Yeah. Did I call you?
Yeah. You don't remember?
No, you just called me.
No, you called me.
All right, I did call you.
Yeah. I'll just call you later.
I'm confused.
I'll call you later. I got you.
I did call you? I called you. His dad was so confused. His dad put his glasses on and looked at the phone like, did I call you? That was this challenge is hilarious, but I hate it, and that's why I don't answer the phone. But Tom Brady, bless his heart, was like, I'm confused. This is the time, guys. These are the times that I'm telling you about where it's just like this is the time I like. I'm sorry. Next week it'll probably be a different time, but this is the post up that I really, really wanted to get to, because this y'all know I'm from Denver, right? So I don't even know what Mile High Stadium is called right now. I know at one point it was Invesco Field, and everyone in Denver lost their mind, and they was like, no, you're going to put that damn Mile High back on that stadium. So then it became Invesco Field at Mile High. Nobody called it that. I think occasionally I heard a few announcers call it that. I don't know who sponsors that stadium now, but I know it's someone else. But all they call it is Mile High. So in my head, that Invesco thing was just a waste of money. But Michigan State football now has a whole new name. They have a 5-year deal with the Detroit-based Rocket Mortgage. So now it's going to be called MSU Spartans, presented by Rocket Mortgage. So take a look at this tweet. That's their full name now. That's a lot. MSU Spartans, presented by Rocket Mortgage. So that's what, people are supposed to say as they introduce them, as they introduce the team. The partnership also secures branding for the Rocket mortgage throughout the stadium, which will be highly visible, of course, on TV. And this includes digital placements, and then the head coach has to wear a mic that says Rocket Mortgage. It's a lot. Nobody's going to call them. This is a lot of money spent for a name that's not going to be said. I get the branding, but go ahead, Devin. I know you had something to say about this.
I'm just wondering, like, for the cheerleaders at Michigan State, what are they going to say when they have to do their cheers? You know, are they really going to say Michigan State, Spartan, whatever it was, presented by Rocket Mortgage?
MSU Rocket Mortgage. And like, how do you say that? You have to say it like super fast now, right? Because this is crazy to me. But they spent, so when you go to the team's website, they tell you that it's going to be not only for the football team, it's the basketball team, the women's teams, like everyone now is MSU Spartans presented by Rocket Mortgage, which is hilarious to me. But they do not disclose, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere, I probably just didn't dig deep enough, but they didn't disclose how much money they paid for this sponsorship. And I know that they paid them a lot. So this user asked a question that I think is very prominent because I think this shifts the conversation a little bit. He says, I missed the part of the article detailing the athletics cut of that money. So we know that we've just started allowing them to get endorsements. So I think this does spark a new conversation because they started going back and forth. So let me just show you this quick little back and forth between them. He says, college athletes shouldn't be paid by the NCAA for playing a sport, but I don't think they should be punished for seeking endorsements and should be allowed to build a brand if they choose to. And this user had a good point. Said CBS paid like $1.5 billion for the college basketball tournament. Can you tell me why players shouldn't see any of that? I think that when you start seeing stuff like that and you start seeing private companies come in and paying teams some sort of endorsement deal so they can have their logo, then at bare minimum, these kids shouldn't be, all of them should be on some sort of scholarship. I know most of them are, but I know some of them aren't as well. So I wonder if this is going to start a new conversation, not only about letting them use their likeness, but should they be getting a cut of this kind of money as well? Devin, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think they absolutely should be getting a cut of this money. I think that's important. I don't know.
Right.
We've been feeling this whole time that college athletes should be able to take advantage of, the work that they put in for the team, but also their name and likeness. And I'm glad that things are changing, but I think that this is something that we should definitely see them get. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good Twitter battle on Twitter. I loved how the back and forth and people were like, this doesn't make sense. They're paying this money because these athletes get attention. And if it's because of the athletes, then they should get some of the money. So I love how this conversation is developing. I hope it continues to develop because I think it's a good conversation to have. So let's move into this next one because this is a name that we don't talk about a lot, probably because he's on a team that we don't talk a lot about. And he also had that ACL injury. But Joe Burrow, we showed you yesterday that Odell Beckham is trying to recover from his ACL injury, and Joe Burrow is out here trying to recover from his as well. And so Chad Johnson decided that he wanted to kind of lend his services and say, hey, I should help out. So he posted this to his Twitter, and Joe Burrow's response was perfect because Chad Johnson said, I need to get with Joe Burrow and Odell Beckham this offseason and give them a 6-month meal prep plan that will prevent any further injuries. And Joe said, sorry, Chad, I can't eat McDonald's every day. Because I don't know if you guys remember how upset Chad Ochocinco got when Marshawn told him, oh, you can't just be out here eating McDonald's every day. And he got angry because he literally eats McDonald's every day. How are you going to plan somebody's meal plan and you out here eating Big Macs and large fries every single day? What? Oh. That's ridiculous. I don't even understand how he would even. Anyway, Devin, I think, is going to get a huge kick out of this last one, and I think we're going to talk about it because you think of how many people are in players, just players, not even coaches and stuff, but just players are in the NBA. It is a lot. And if you had to put together a list of who you would invite over in chronological order, who ends up dead last is hilarious. Let's take a look at this kid because this is fantastic. Take a look.
All right, today I'm going to be ranking NBA players based on how likely I'd be to invite them to my bar mitzvah. This is part 1. Let's go. In dead last.
In It's so good. That's exactly what mine would be too.
Oh my God, the shade. And see, this is one of those things. Go ahead, Devin.
No, I want to hear what you were going to say.
This is, I don't even know if I was him, if I'd want to still play, because I know this is my life now. People are just going to always drag me. If I go out here and score 2 or 3 points, then it's going to be like, why is he here? Why is he here? Like, I just don't even know if I'd want to deal with that for the rest of my life.
It's also so funny, but because based on the controversy that happened, I don't think people were necessarily maybe if you were a Heat fan, like a diehard Heat fan, you might be talking about Myers Leonard and his stats and averages that he's been putting up this season. But for the rest of us, I don't think most of us were really paying that close attention. And now we're in a position where we're like, this guy scores 3 points per game. Like, why is he even here? We have this hyper attention on it. But also just that TikTok that you showed us, or whatever that was, Instagram story, whatever it was. I don't understand how Gen Z is so funny. Like, Gen Z has such a good sense of humor. These kids are hilarious. I would never have thought of doing something like that.
It's because they have time. They are sitting at home in the middle of a pandemic, and all they do is be on social media. And I know this because in my building, they'll sit in the lobby. There's a group of 3 kids. They do social distance. I don't want y'all to think they sit side by side, but they do social distance. And I tell you, they come out at noon, and they are there till like 6 or 7 at night, just making TikToks or looking at TikToks or seeing something on TikTok and be like, oh, I think we should do this TikTok. And then they'll go and they'll make it together. And I'm like, that's mind numbing to me, just to see them just scrolling through like, oh, bro, look at this. Let's do this. And then they'll go out there and do the dumb little dances. And then it's like, and they'll do them all day until they perfect them. And then the funny thing is watching them try to lip sync. You know, like they'll see somebody's video and be like, oh, let's lip sync to that. And they'll try to act it out. And I'll be looking at them and I'll be like, please don't post that, because you did not get anywhere close to what that lip sync actually said. And you look like one of those old movies where they're saying something in Japanese and somebody else is saying it in English. You look terrible. Don't post that. But they spend hours trying to perfect that. And it's just when I'll go to the grocery store and I'll come back and they'll still be there. I'll take a nap. They'll go out. They'll still be there. They got time. Devin is the long story short of that. They got time that we just don't have because we got jobs. And so that's why we're not that funny, because we got full on jobs out here. So
True.
But congratulations. True. We do appreciate it. All right. So we're going to stay on this funny kick, and we're going to get into what we're not going to do. And we're going to keep maintaining this same energy, because this is just one of those things that I want to tell you guys right now. In case you have to log off early, there's no statute of limitations on snitching on yourself or on other teammates. So just keep that in mind. So here's another name that you probably don't really know that well, Jon Kitna. Don't feel bad if you don't know his name, because he retired in 2011. He ended up retiring from Dallas. He wasn't that good, guys. He started, I think, 2 seasons with the Seahawks in the late 90s. By the way, Seahawks, I really need y'all to go back and revisit that footage so you can start to appreciate Russell Wilson again, because boy was trash. But so anyway, so he played with them, I think, in the late 90s. I think he was with Detroit for a little bit and the Bengals for a little bit. So, but he never was that good. I think his best season was like 8-8. But there was a lot of bad 3-13s in there. So I'm not sure why anyone would want to bring him on their show anyway, except for maybe he's cheap. Maybe since he's just low-hanging fruit, since nobody really remembers him, you can get him on your show either for dirt cheap or free. But again, I need everyone to stop snitching on themselves about pre-game rituals. Those are supposed to be sacred. What happens in the locker room, y'all, is supposed to stay in the locker room. This is just one of those unspoken rules. But you guys got guys out here just kind of telling on themselves. So take a listen to this and how he's telling on a teammate from back in the day. It's an undisclosed teammate, but he's still snitching. Take a listen.
But throwing anybody. I mean, there was a time that I played a game with a guy that was drunk in the hub. Yeah. There was a time that a guy showed up, late to a game in the NFL. You need to be there 2 hours and 15 minutes ahead of time. And he showed up, under an hour before the game, and he started. Now, those are weird things. Now, that's tough.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. I got to go back to the drunk guy in the huddle. Did everybody know the guy was drunk? Did the staff know, or were you just like, "Whoa, dude, you smell like Rumplemints"?
I'm not sure if the staff knew, but I think the guy was like, that was kind of his normal. So, I mean, he was drunk and had close to 200 yards receiving now. So it was crazy.
So I don't know who he's talking about because he, like I said, he finished his career in 2011. So for a second there, I thought maybe he was talking about Michael Irvin because, I told you he did retire from Dallas. But Michael Irvin retired in 99, if I'm not mistaken. So it's definitely not Michael Irvin. But because he wasn't that good, it would not be that hard to go back and look at a game where Joe Burrow had somebody have over 200 receiving yards. It would not be that hard to go back and find that and just see who he's talking about, who used to show up drunk. And he's not the only one. That's the thing. When you kind of look at the story, you realize guys just be out here telling on themselves. So Clinton Portis in 2017, he said that himself and Santana Moss and then Sean Taylor, may he rest in peace, they used to take shots of Hennessy before the game. He said, it wasn't a lot, but we all would just get together, the three of us. We'd kind of huddle up in the corner. We'd pour some Hennessy, take a shot, we'd go out. So he said, because it gave them a shot of adrenaline. And then Josh Gordon, y'all know Josh Gordon. I have been out here rooting for Josh Gordon for a minute, but Josh Gordon not only is his worst enemy, he tells on himself because he told GQ, I know y'all remember that, he told GQ that he would not only drink before the game, but he would take the biggest hit from a bong that he possibly could before he went out and played. Guys, there is no statute of limitation on snitching on yourself. You guys, what we're not going to do is be out here telling on ourselves for several reasons. Number one, I'm glad this is an off season because nothing can come of this. But number two, if this interview comes to anybody's mind during the regular season, you know what I'm going to do as a coach and be like, I wonder if anybody else out here drinking and smoking weed before the game. Let me run a random drug test and pee test and see what these guys out here doing. If this is what these guys need to do to go out there and perform, let them do that. And you need to take that to your grave. Don't be out here telling on yourself and others. This is ridiculous. I don't approve of this. I want to go to you really quick and see, do you agree or no?
No, I agree with you. You shouldn't be giving any hints about somebody's pregame habits, pregame rituals. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100% because it's too easy for us to just do some deductive reasoning and figure it out. But also, right, I'm perplexed as to how these guys can be. I mean, I can't even walk straight when I'm sober. How are these guys playing football when they're, or any sport? How are they doing this if they're drunk? I don't understand. That takes a whole new level of skill because I'm not even a reliable person.
I can't play beer pong. I can't get one single cup with the ball in it if I'm sober. But you let me have 2 shots of Honey Jack and bam, 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 I'm just knocking them out. So that's what I'm saying. Do what you got to do to get right, but don't tell. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But that's all I got for what we not going to do.
It's fan or foe.
All right, fan or foe, you guys, we have been getting and collecting all of your comments from the week, and now we are going to be responding to them and designating a new fan of the week. So, Leo, let's get that first comment up there. So this is from our guy, Rodney. We love Rodney. He is so active in the chat. He says, hey, he only apologized for being caught, and he knows what he was saying. Everyone knows what's right from wrong. That's true. Okay, so this is obviously in response to the Myers-Leonard controversy. Yes, I agree. He only apologized because he got caught. If this was happening in private, there would be it wasn't live streamed, there would be no apology, and he wouldn't have seen anything wrong with it, but he also wouldn't have faced the repercussions and backlash that he did receive. He knew it was a bad word. That's why he took that pause before he said it. But you know what? I think that in this moment, for me personally, as a Jewish person, I will take the approach of let's educate you and enlighten you and show you how dumb you are so that you can do better in the future. Jackie, do you have anything that you want to say about that?
No, only thing I want to say is I'm disappointed that I understand and I applaud the NBA for being consistent. They gave him the same penalty that they gave Trez, which I think is the right way to go. But he's so worthless. I hate to be mean that He's so worthless. I think he could have used this opportunity to just get rid of him. So I'm just disappointed that he's still around, but I understand it.
Yeah. You're like, let's just give him the boot. I'm over it. But yeah, he really is not bringing enough to the game for them to warrant bringing him back. But, you know, whatever. Whatever, you guys. Trying to not be a cancel culture kind of person. So Myers Leonard, you get one more chance. And if you do anything else egregious, I'm over it. I can't root for you anymore. That's it. Okay, let's get that next comment up there, Leo. Okay, JD, he says he was most comfortable at home, and he used this word before because he was too comfortable. Yeah, this is obviously something that he has said in the past. Again, this is all about Myers Leonard. Yeah, I think that this was part of his vocabulary. He definitely didn't say that for the first time on the live stream. So this is for sure right. Jackie, anything you want to add?
No, just that I'm over this guy. So let's get to this next one.
Next one. Rodney again, he says, you are a great person too. Be a role model, Devin and Jackie. I'm sure your parents and family are proud of you. Aw, Rodney.
Rodney?
That's so sweet. Okay, definitely a contender for fan of the week. Rodney, love that. So nice of you. Also, really quickly, I just want to say, every time we say Myers Leonard, I know we don't want to talk about him anymore, but I always think about Meyer lemons. Do you know about Meyer lemons, Jackie?
Nope.
They're like a super special kind of lemon, and they're more expensive than regular lemons, and I think that's what they're called. And his name, every time I just think of lemons. It's so weird. It's like this, like, fires on us.
We both think of something. You think of Myers Lemons. Every time I say his name, I think of Michael Myers. So it's just we both have this. Sorry.
Yeah. We have these weird things that go off in our brains. Okay, Leo, let's get that next comment up there. Okay, Mamba Machine says, maybe he was just having a moment of anger or wanting to give up. Perhaps it's just all of his pain coming back at him at once. Let's pray for him nevertheless. So I think this was about Trez. Jackie, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He might have, I don't know if it was anger. It could have been a combination of anger and sadness. And I agree with that. It's not the time to, when people, this is our culture now. You put all your emotions on social media. And I think when people put their emotions on social media like that, regardless of how you feel about that person or even someone who's unrelated to that person, you guys were weird for that. That's just not the time. I think if you don't have anything nice to say, do what your mama told you and don't say anything. So yeah, I definitely agree that he definitely needs our prayers, and probably still, even though he seems to be okay now, he's probably still holding on to something. So we definitely need to continue to lift him up and pray for him at all times. So yeah.
I also want to add that I think, although Trez's tweet was a little bit alarming and felt sort of ominous, I think that it is good that he feels like he can be open and vulnerable with his emotions, because so many athletes and men in general, I feel like, are not willing to be open with how they're feeling. And he admitted he was going through a hard time. Sure, it freaked people out because there was no context, but at first there was no context, but I admire that he is comfortable being open with his emotions, and I know I'm personally sending him love. Leo, let's get the next comment up there. Okay, so Mighty Warrior. Dak will be top 10 in his career. Can you explain how? I'm just wondering.
The chances of Dak being top 10 in his career are about the same as you actually spelling career right. It's not going to happen, my guy. Just let that one go.
His career. Whatever his career is, maybe he will be top 10. But his career, I don't think so. Let's move on. Leo, can you get us the next comment? Dak Prescott deserves minimum wage. Jackie, I'm going to let you respond to that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if I think minimum wage. He definitely deserves a little bit. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just not 66 million in guarantees good is all I'm saying. You know, he deserves money for sure. He's not a bad quarterback, and he's who they got right now. But I think there should be, if there's a league minimum for being decent, then maybe, but there's not. So this is what you got, and it's going to backfire.
Let's get the next one up there, Leo. Zion Collins says Curry is a star and a Hall of Famer. Don't get me wrong. Melo is a hooper. The kid can flat out ball, but we needed a big, so we had no choice but to pass on Melo. Yeah, I agree with this at 1,000%. Melo would not have been able to get the same playing time that he is in Charlotte had he gone to the Warriors, and I think that it was a good move for the Warriors to draft someone like James Wiseman. Jackie, I'm sure you agree with me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. Good job, Zion.
Yeah, Zion, we appreciate you. This was the day, huh?
I love that name, by the way, too. Zion is just the name. I love that name.
It's so good. It's such a good name. Also, this was the day I think that everybody was like saying that Steph sucks in the chat. That was the weirdest day ever. I don't know what people were on, but Zion, you were speaking truth. We appreciate it. Leo, let's get that next one up there. NBA Highlight says Jerry Jones, I think he made a good decision, but at the same time, risky. Risky, I will agree with, for sure.
Yeah, I think, and that's always a business tactic. You gotta figure out if the risk versus reward, is it a risk that's going to pay off in the long term, and I don't know what math he did. I would love to see how he broke down the math on this, but because I couldn't come up to his conclusion. So let's see. We just gotta wait and see.
He couldn't even come up to his own conclusions except for saying he overpays for special things. Okay. Leo, let's get the next one up there. John says the two, I think BW stands for beautiful women, but I'm not totally sure, are the highlight of my day. Thank you both. You're both awesome. John, we always appreciate you in the chat. You are so sweet to us, and we love you for it. Definitely a contender for fan of the week. I might even be willing to say that John is the fan of the week, but we'll have to see what's coming up next here. Jackie, are you on board with that call that I'm making right now?
I like this one. I like the one that said you're a role model, and then my parents are proud of me too, though. So I like that one too.
True.
I don't remember that one. Great. We like you. We love you.
Yes, we love John. Okay, Leo, let's get the next one up there. Michael Percy says, I pray that Odell comes back fully healthy. I loved watching him play. He makes me want to work harder. Yeah, that video that Jackie showed us earlier this week with him on that treadmill made me want, I was like, okay, I gotta work out today. I can't skip it again today. Anything you want to add, Jackie?
No, yeah, I agree. I love Odell. But you guys know that already. So yeah.
And Paul says, in Tampa, you have Tom Brady, nice weather, and no state income tax. Nice for a veteran player. Yeah, okay. True. Cool. I agree.
Yeah, I got nothing else. Good job.
Good job. Michael says, Myers should be forgiven if he gives a true heartfelt apology, educates himself, and does not make that mistake again. I think that this is the kind of thing that you remember about a person, and yes, forgive or like educate yourself, do better. Yeah, don't forget.
I'm saying forgive, never forget, because if you forget, then they do it again, you're going to be looking stupid. So forgive, but never forget.
I am with you on that one. And I think that was the last fan or foe comment of the week. So, Jackie, who are we giving the title to today?
We can give it to John. Let's give it to John. Because John is here in the chat right now. I see you, John.
John! We love you, John. Thank you so much, Rodney. You are the runner-up. We appreciate you as well. So John is our fan of the week. You guys, that wraps up our show for the day. We had so much fun hanging out with you all week long. Check out Weekend Zone. It's coming out tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another live show. So tap the bell so you know when we go live. Subscribe. Leave a comment below. Give this video a thumbs up. Have a great weekend, you guys. Be a nice person. Smile at somebody, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.